While your energy bills keep climbing and the grid gets less reliable by the day, one community hasn't paid a single cent for power in generations. The Amish have built a completely bulletproof off-grid system right under our noses. And the smartest parts of it have nothing to do with religion. They're practical, replicable, and available to you right now. Here's the exact method, broken into two halves. Energy independence first, then food and water. The old order Amish forbid tapping electricity from public utility lines. That's the core restriction. But they do not prohibit electricity generated and controlled on their own property. That distinction is everything. It means an Amish farmer can charge batteries with a solar panel and power LED lighting through a 12-volt system without violating the ordnung, as long as the power source is self-contained. The rule was never about technology, it was always about dependency. And that reframe is exactly what you need to borrow. So here's how the Amish energy system actually works. 3 layers stacked on top of each other, each one backing up the last. Layer 1. Solar and battery bank. Many Amish communities have embraced solar power because standalone systems are off-grid. The rules are intended to avoid connection to and reliance on the outside world, not to ban electricity itself. What makes solar particularly compatible with Amish values is that it requires no monthly bill and no grid dependency. A modest system of 1 to 2 panels with battery storage is sufficient to power LED lighting, a water pump, and a few essential appliances across a typical Amish household. Notice what they're not doing. They're not trying to replicate a standard modern home's power draw off-grid. The Amish don't try to generate enough power to live a modern American lifestyle off-grid. They redesign the lifestyle to fit what off-grid power can reliably provide. That's the mindset shift. Before you buy a single panel, your first step this week is a load audit. Write down every device you actually need running, not everything you own. Just the non-negotiables. Lighting, a water pump, a phone charger, maybe a small refrigerator. You'll probably find your real baseline is a fraction of what you assumed. On the hardware side, a 12-volt DC system is simpler and cheaper to maintain than a full AC inverter setup because it skips the conversion step entirely. A lean, Amish-style DC setup sized only to your audited load typically costs between $4,000 and $8,000 installed, substantially less than a full grid backup system, which runs $12,000 to $18,000 for a modern home. Layer 2. Wood or biomass heating as the thermal backbone. Heating and water heating are typically the 2 biggest energy draws in any home, and the Amish handle both with a single, well-sized wood stove or a rocket mass heater. A rocket mass heater is essentially a highly efficient combustion system that burns wood at very high temperatures, captures the heat in a thermal mass, think a thick earthen bench or a tiled floor, and releases it slowly over hours. You burn a fraction of the wood a conventional stove requires, and the thermal mass keeps the room warm long after the fire goes out. Your first step here: find out what your home's heating and hot water currently costs you per month. That single number will tell you exactly how much this layer is worth to you. Layer 3. Passive design, the zero-cost layer. This one costs nothing to implement, and the Amish use it by default. South-facing windows capture low winter sun and warm the interior naturally. Heavy curtains or insulated shutters seal that heat in at night. Thermal mass floors, stone, brick, tile, absorb heat during the day and release it overnight. You don't need to renovate to start here. Rearrange your heaviest furniture against exterior walls. Add a thick curtain to your coldest window this week. These are micro versions of the same principle, and they work. Amish communities combine propane, diesel generators, battery banks, solar, and pneumatic power. No single failure takes down everything. That's the architecture of the whole system. Layered, redundant, each piece covering the gaps in the others. But even if you nail all three energy layers, solar, biomass heat, passive design, you still have a critical vulnerability. If you depend on a grocery store and municipal water, a grid outage or a supply disruption still owns you completely. Energy independence is only half the equation, and the second half is where the system gets genuinely bulletproof. Of those three energy layers, solar, biomass heating, and passive design, which one feels most realistic for where you live right now? The solar battery bank or the wood stove setup? Drop your answer in the comments below. Now, let's talk about the second half of the system, food and water. Now, the energy system you just built has a critical gap, and the Amish close it the same way they close every other vulnerability. Not with a stockpile, but with a rhythm. Here's the distinction that matters. Stockpiling is a one-time panic response. You buy a lot of something, it sits in a garage, it expires, and you're back where you started. The Amish approach to food and water is fundamentally different. It's a production and preservation cycle that replenishes itself season after season, without electricity, without refrigeration, and without a grocery store. That cycle is built on three pillars, and each one is simpler to implement than you'd expect. Pillar 1. Cold storage. A root cellar is just a below-grade room that uses the Earth's stable temperature to keep food cold. Once you get roughly 6 to 8 feet underground, the temperature stabilizes between 35 and 50 degrees Fahrenheit year-round. No compressor, no power draw, no moving parts. Root vegetables like carrots, turnips, and potatoes store for 4 to 6 months in those conditions. Properly cured meats last months longer. Fermented foods, sealed in crocks, can last well over a year. You don't need a full underground room to get started. A buried, insulated container, even a repurposed chest freezer sunk into a hillside, replicates the same principle at a fraction of the cost and effort. The key is below-grade depth and good ventilation to prevent moisture buildup. Pillar 2. Preservation methods. The Amish rely on 3 core techniques: lacto-fermentation, water bath canning, and dry curing. Each one works through a different mechanism, but the logic is the same. Create an environment where spoilage organisms can't survive. Lacto-fermentation uses salt to suppress harmful bacteria, while beneficial bacteria lower the pH through. Water bath canning uses heat to destroy pathogens and then seals the jar to prevent recontamination. Dry curing uses salt concentration to pull moisture out of meat, which bacteria need to thrive. You don't need to master all 3 at once. A basic lacto-fermentation setup, a few wide-mouthed jars, some non-iodized salt, and whatever vegetables you have, costs under $30 and produces shelf-stable food within days. That's a legitimate first step this week. Pillar 3. Gravity-fed water. Most Amish farms don't use electric pumps. Instead, they use elevated cisterns, essentially large tanks positioned above the point of use, so gravity creates the water pressure. Rainwater is collected from roof surfaces, run through a first flush diverter, and stored in the cistern. The water that reaches the cistern is clean enough for irrigation, livestock, and non-potable household use. A basic rainwater harvesting setup, gutters, a diverter, and a storage tank typically runs between $500 and $1,500, depending on tank size and your existing roof infrastructure. That's not a luxury system. That's a functional backup that works every time it rains. Now, zoom out and look at what you actually have. 6 layers: solar and battery bank, biomass heat, passive thermal design, cold storage, food preservation, and gravity water. Each one covers a gap the others leave open. If the solar system underperforms in a cloudy week, the biomass heat still. If the grocery supply chain breaks, the root cellar and fermentation crocks hold. If municipal water goes down, the cistern delivers. This is not 6 separate projects. It's one interlocking system, and every piece makes the others more resilient. The Amish didn't build all of this in a single season. These systems developed over generations, refined through use, passed down through communities. You're not behind. You're just starting. Pick one layer, the one that closes your most obvious vulnerability right now, and begin this month. That single step puts you further ahead than every person still waiting for the perfect moment to start. Subscribe for more practical off-grid methods and watch the next video on building your first root